Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. Happy August. It's Naomi Wolf with Outspoken and Daily Clout, and so much to share with you today. You may hear a gentle snoring by all kinds of leaders in the worlds of medical innovation and health innovation and nonprofit work, people who repair the hearts of little children from all over the world, notably from sub-Saharan Africa. Many very moving and important organizations presented to this group. So I'm thrilled that he's back, and I just want to share before we get into my reading of my essay, which was also a little overdue. It's been a really busy month. I want to share some of the things he brought home and talk a little bit about it because, obviously Bibi Netanyahu is in the White House. The amazing Monica Crowley posted pictures of herself welcoming him. She's the chief ambassador for protocol at the White House. She's an incredible woman. And hopefully there will be useful conversations to stabilize peace in the region. I was worried about Brian because there was a level 3 advisory from the State Department when he was there, basically saying don't travel to the Middle East. And one of the people on his trip had video on her phone of a plane dropping what looked like firepower when they were descending. It could have been Lebanon, wasn't clear, but it's obviously, the Middle East is in a state of conflict and war, and I'm not saying that happily. I'm saying it because we all know that. And you always worry when your loved one is in a conflict area. But if anyone knows what to do, it's Brian. And he was with a very safety-oriented group, lots of security. So they're home safe and sound, thank God. And let's just keep praying for all the people in the Middle East, Palestinian, Lebanese, Syrian, Egyptian, Moroccan, Israeli, may we live to see that all the people in the Middle East who have so much to build, so much to share in a state of peace, have peace so that they can make that region incredible. And there's been a lot of new news this week. President Trump announced the Board of Peace is taking over Gaza and disarming Hamas. No disrespect to the president, but I'll believe it when I see it. But it was quite a confident statement. We'll see. I feel hopeful I feel very hopeful that Saudi Arabia and other Arab nations that have long been, at least on paper, enemies of Israel are aligning against Iran right now. And I think that this realignment really has the potential to rewrite the balance of power in the Middle East toward a less fanatical, more supportive of the US and its allies alignment, which would be just incredible. And, Iran is a rogue state, a murderous state that is willing to massacre its own people. I hate war. I support peace, but I do think Americans who are kind of reflexively anti-war, which is a tempting position, especially people like, Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, all these people who kind of just announced a new movement, an America First movement that's overtly against the war in Iran. They really don't. I think they're very naive, if not worse, and they can't. They're not fully imagining what a nuclear armed fundamentalist, Islamist, clearly deranged regime that is happy to give a woman singer 72 lashes for singing in public and showing her hair. How destabilizing that is. And as fun as it is to say, let's, not be allies with Israel, Look at all the money we send to Israel. Israel's actually like 8th or 9th down on the list of countries to whom we give foreign aid. But also, as you know, as I keep saying, imagine the Middle East without Israel, right? Being our bulwark, being our first line of defense. It would be our men and women in uniform, our blood and treasure, shipped out to face a solid block of like 34 Muslim countries completely united across the Middle East, North Africa, against the great Satan, which is us. So I think we really want to think that one through. I don't know that right now in the world we have, Israel has her flaws, God knows. So does Saudi Arabia, so does Yemen, so does Morocco, so does, Jordan, so does Syria, God knows, right? But think about Europe right now. Think about how happy our allies, our big allies, right? Britain, Germany, France have been to not help us, not support us, take pot shots at our leadership, and have us underwrite all their stuff, all their defense for decades. They're opening their borders. They're not protecting their borders. The massive swarms of humanity, which I think is a military operation from Morocco to Ceuta, which is an outpost of Spain on the North African continent, may be changing that and making these countries a little more mindful of protecting their borders. But they have not been good allies to us, and they've let radical jihadi Islamists flood into Western Europe and really take possession of, very cleverly, you've got to kind of give them credit, a great deal of political power, build political beachheads, in France, in Germany, in Britain, in Italy. And those are not good allies. They're not aligned with us right now. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance keep giving speeches that basically say, hey, Europe, you're not aligned right now with our values. You're going against Western values. You're going against historical Western and North American values, and letting people in who do not share those values in huge numbers, and basically committing cultural suicide. And that is not those are not strong allies. So in contrast with that, we've got Israel, which does share our values, right? Paradoxically, the Jewish state, shares more Judeo-Christian values than the secular, increasingly secular British or French or German state with us. And they do defend our interests. So let's rethink that. I've been a fierce critic of Israel when they've attacked civilians, just like I've been a critic of Palestine when they've attacked civilians for many decades. But right now, I just think we're in a time in which we kind of the sheep and the goats are being separated. You can't really equivocate anymore. There is a massive radical Islam that wants to wipe out Western Europe, and increasingly is getting beachheads in North America under the guise of the Democratic Socialists of America. Here in the city where I'm sitting in Brooklyn, our mayor, Mamdani, is representative of this. And that's our future unless we wake up and fight back, as Western Europe has had to do for 700 years, right? Or more, actually. In Spain, 700 years. But going back to the Crusades, 1,000 years, right? And now it's our turn also to wake up and realize what time it is. I never thought I'd say this. I love many things about Islam. I love my Muslim friends. There are beautiful things in the Holy Quran. The average peaceful Muslim family is not who I'm raising an alarm about, but something bigger than them, is trying to seize the West. So just that's why I'm so interested in Israel right now. I've kind of turned my back on Israel for many years. It was too emotionally complicated. But now, I'm a passionate Zionist, and I'll explain why to anyone who wants me to. And I'm not ashamed, and I'm not hiding. All over the world, when I open the news, there are attacks on Jews like in the early 30s. A group of tourists in Crete, had a group of Palestinians banging on the doors, looking for where are the Jews, where are the Israelis? Tourists in Crete, right? Last week someone was stabbed with a screwdriver here in Manhattan when they came out of synagogue on the Upper West Side. Sorry. In Canada, a beloved restaurant, was burned to the ground. I mean, all over the world, these things are happening to Jews as if it's the early 30s. We know what time it is. And if you don't know what time it is, you better wake up. And I will just say, first they come for the Jews, as they say, first they come for the Saturday people, and then they come for the Sunday people. So let's all unite peacefully, hopefully, legally, and protect our borders, protect our culture. There's nothing racist or wrong about protecting Western culture. Or Judeo-Christian culture. I mean, I believe in the separation of powers, but also, America is based on Judeo-Christian values. All right. This is something that Brian brought back. It is two things. It's a Star of David, which has been a symbol, since biblical times of the kingdom of David, because, of course, there was a real political kingdom in what is now Israel in the biblical period. And it says Am Yisrael Chai all the way around the border, which means the people of Israel live. And then in the middle, there's something called Chamsa, or Yad Fatima. And that's an interesting symbol because it's both Muslim and Jewish. In Judaism, it's known as the hand of Miriam, referring to the sister of Moses. And the 5 fingers symbolize the 5 books of the Torah. And in Islam, it's named after Fatima Zahra, the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad. And the 5 fingers can represent the 5 pillars of Islam for Sunnis, or the people of the cloak for Shiites. In both cultures, it's an amulet aimed at protection, an ancient palm-shaped amulet that represents protection, power, and good fortune. And it's used to ward off the evil eye. So that's a lovely thing for us to have in our home. Here we have a hat he got that says City of David. Cool. He brought back for me as a present Zatar. And I used to live in Israel. So this is like, I received this with incredible joy. People Palestinians, Arabs will know what I'm talking about as much as Israelis will. Za'atar is a Middle Eastern kind of collection of herbs and spices. It's not easy to find. And when you do find it in America, it doesn't tend to taste the same, but this is Jerusalem Za'atar. Oh my goodness. And you put it on, so good. When I was a young teenager, we lived in Jerusalem, and you could go to the old city, and there were these Palestinian Arab bakeries in the old city, and you could get what were called bagelach, related to, the bagel that comes from Central and Eastern Europe. But these are Middle Eastern bagelach, and they're kind of bigger, and they're kind of this size, and crusty on the outside, covered in sesames, warm. You could get them warm from these bakeries, and then fluffy and sort of light and delectable on the inside. And then you would dip your bagelach as you ate it into a twisted, usually Arabic language newspaper full of za'atar. And za'atar is an herb blend, and it's got oregano and thyme and toasted sesame seeds and sumac, which is not, again, so easy to find here, and salt. And the toasted sesame seeds are crushed. It is sublime. So I'm so happy that Brian brought that back for me. And also he brought me a beautiful rosary made out of olive wood. And so that's our polyglot, multi-ethnic household because, of course, I'm not Christian, but it's a beautiful rosary, and it's, he's Catholic. Here it is. And you can see the workmanship. This is the Crusader cross, reflects the, many religions that see Jerusalem as their holy city. Of course, this is where Jesus preached and where he was crucified, and Golgotha outside of the old city is where where he was crucified, and then the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is where he was buried, where his tomb was. So here you can see this beautiful olive wood crucifix. There's, I guess, Jesus preaching, and there he is on the cross. I have to say, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this, because we're reading Deuteronomy, and in the Hebrew Bible, God is so clear that you're not supposed to have a graven image. So I may just thank Brian so much and give it to him for safekeeping, and also because he's Catholic, so he can say a rosary, and I literally don't know how to. But I'm very moved that he brought it back, and it's so lovely that we're sharing our religions. All right, you guys, and turns out that the root of them is exactly the same. So I'm now going to read Medical Purgatory. That was my little intro where we're at. And then after that, I'm going to segue into Deuteronomy 7. So this picks up with where I left you guys with Medical Purgatory Part 2, the saga of my once again getting really dramatically ill and then having a complete recovery, which is so crazy. And I think these things are related. I don't think it's like random that I'm telling you about the Holy Land and Deuteronomy and God and different ways to worship God, and, sharing this essay about a literally impossible healing. So this is Medical Purgatory Part 3, a miraculous healing. And there's just a photograph of a hospital bed, and I will now stop the screen and go ahead and read to you. I left you, dear reader, having come home at last after a crisis of aphasia in one good hospital, and after 2.5 days of abject misery and soul-searing pain in another painful hospital. I was beyond, just to remind you, in the second part of this 3-part, actually soon to be 4-part essay, I came out of surgery on my hip, unable to speak sequentially. I couldn't find words. Terrifying. I was beyond joyful to sink onto the red couch at home in Brooklyn, where I would recover, to watch the good man who saw me through that catastrophe clearing the obstacles from the floor, intent as if he was sweeping mines from a minefield, to smile at the dog who looks like a fluffy brown muppet who was wriggling with delight and smiling back at me. There were some dramas in those early days. I was still on big drugs, taking opioid-based painkillers every 8 hours or so, and swooning into the blissful, not-caring whirlpool provided to my exhausted nervous system by that set of chemicals. I really hope I don't get addicted to these, I remember thinking briefly, before sliding once again into the, warm bath of delicious forgetfulness that eased the acute pain at my incision site. When I ran out of the painkillers we had from the hospital, we faced a scary situation. On the very first day I was home, we found that we could not get a refill of the opiate-based painkillers in our low-income Brooklyn neighborhood at all. The local CVS claimed that they did not have any and could not get any, full stop. It was like trying to secure something essential in 1983 in Moscow. Brian called around and learned that the other administrative hurdles were being presented to him by other pharmacies. We heard from a knowledgeable local source that pharmacies in our area often claim to be out of opiates or to be unable to provide them so that they won't get robbed. A sad piece of information on many levels. Desperately, we reached out to my surgeon's team at the wonderful Hospital for Special Surgery. I think it's fine to name them at this point, as I have nothing but good things to say about them. A smart, proactive staffer called the pharmacy, warning about consequences if they refused to fill my prescription. And my painkillers were secured. Without that advocacy, I don't know what we would have done. Once again, it seemed that a patient needed extra support or expert intervention in order just to make it intact through the medical system and its secondary industries. Then there was the healing. I won't say the first week was easy. I'd been sent home from the second horrific hospital. Okay, yes, that was Weill Cornell in Manhattan. Please don't sue me. With few instructions. There was no special information given to me as I was released about diet, about any lifestyle changes I should make, about anything I should do or avoid doing in seeking to recover from a very scary, very serious episode. There were some directions. I was to go immediately to an ER. The nice, tired, masked male doctor told Brian and me if I couldn't form words again, or if I had an unusual headache, vision disturbances, or immobility in one side of my body. Okay. My confusion and fear upon getting home were tempered by a consultation with a doctor whom I trust the most with my well-being, the legendary Dr. Henry Ely of Energetic Health Institute. He looked at my test results in the digital portal provided by Weill Cornell. Dr. Ely reassured me that aphasia, such as the kind I had experienced, can happen with low sodium levels caused by surgery. His focus, as I understand his approach, was on making sure that my blood would circulate well and not thicken or clot, that my metabolism would work optimally, processing toxins efficiently, and that my cellular health would improve. I'd always had low blood pressure and low cholesterol, so I had never worried about my heart or about circulatory issues, but my episode, I imagine, made it wise to err on the side of boosting my circulatory health. Dr. Ely also wanted to strengthen my liver, which I confess I had neglected. No alcohol for now, he said. And he wanted to raise my very low cholesterol levels. Butter, meat, coconut oil, he said. Organic berry smoothies, said Dr. Ely. As always, I felt hopeful and calm when Dr. Ely told me exactly what to do to recover. Just as there can be medical curses, there can be medical verbal prompts for healing. About 2 days after I was home from the hospital, I had an urgent work obligation to fill out a series of NDAs, which are standard business forms. I had the very scary experience of being unable to put several email addresses correctly into this simple form. I would get the first name wrong, even as I was staring at it on another screen, or I would get the last name wrong, or I would get the domain extensions .org or .com wrong. My patient podcast producer stood by on the phone as I mangled email after email in NDA after NDA. He did not express the alarm he must have been feeling, though he finally politely took over the task, and I gratefully let him. But I was terrified. Was I going to lose my cognition again, perhaps forever? I could feel my brain suffer as I tried to understand the emails at which I was staring. I could feel a sense of rawness in its processing, like rust in the gears, as I sought uselessly to concentrate. Dr. Ely understood exactly what was happening, thank God. It was not another episode. My brain, he explained, was still in a photosensitive state. I needed to go into my computer settings and switch the harsh blue light of a normal screen to the setting night shift. Doing so cast a pleasant reddish shade over my screen, one I still have on to this day, and this immediately calmed my brain and allowed me to process digital information painlessly and correctly. Dr. Ely also prescribed a detailed set of supplements, vitamin C, a tasty lemonade-like electrolyte booster, probably to balance my sodium levels, actual chlorophyll, which I applied in a dropper into the dissolved yellow electrolyte powder. The drops swirl into the yellow beverage like the essence of organic life, deep green plumes separating into little fragments like the very souls of plants. There's a turmeric tonic in a similar dropper for detoxification. It is anti-inflammatory and provides circulatory support. There's a supplement for liver health. In the past, Dr. Ely has also prescribed prayer. I knew from interviews with alternative health pioneers that the sun, too, was healing, that it literally charges one's mitochondria, stimulating mitochondrial function. So I added to my routine an hour or two a day of lying in the sun on the roof of our apartment building. I would bask in sunshine if there was any, ideally at sunrise if I was up that early, or more regularly at sunset. The downside of this basking at sunset was that I saw and recorded evening by evening on social media how consistently sunset is blocked by plane emissions in just that part of the sky. What magic does sunset actually hold? Who is trying to block its beneficence and why? Perhaps sunset's proven healing powers hold some answers to this question. And I'm just going to show you the lovely image of the sunset that I put there. Sunlight, as a potent source of healing, has been understood for millennia before our modern era of medicine forgot so much about it. Its healing effects even have a name, heliotherapy. In, quote, Keeping Your Sunny Side Up, How Sunlight Affects Health and Well-Being, end quote, by Stephen J. Genuis, published in Canadian Family Physician 2006, the monthly peer-reviewed publication of the College of Family Physicians of Canada, so a real peer-reviewed publication from Legacy Medicine. Sunlight or its absence are factors in a number of serious medical conditions, including cancers, bone weakness, autoimmune conditions, and hormonal issues. Quote, through the centuries, long before the discovery and isolation of serotonin, many health practitioners recognized that patients who spent time in the sun felt better. As a result, sunbaths and hot houses have long been used to restore health. Around 400 BC, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, routinely, I'm going to just say they're the father of Western medicine because Ayurveda was up and running, so it was Chinese medicine at that time, routinely prescribed sunbaths as part of his management of a variety of maladies. In his health facility on the island of Kos, he had a large solarium that exposed patients to maximal amounts of sunlight as part of their therapy. The Roman philosopher Aulus Cornelius Celsus, 25 BC to 50 AD, recommended that sufferers of melancholy live in spaces full of light. In 1863, Florence Nightingale appealed to hospital designers to include wards that were brightly lit by natural sunlight. Recent research also confirms that sunshine is not an incidental bystander. It is a major determinant of human health. Diverse health conditions are affected by sunlight. This is still the article. For example, one study found that post-operative patients in sunny rooms experienced less stress and pain and used fewer analgesics than their counterparts in dimly lit rooms. Various skin conditions, including psoriasis and pityriasis rosea, are improved by regular exposure to the sun. Receiving the most attention, however, is the sun's effect on health through production of vitamin D. The sun's ultraviolet rays penetrate the skin and through a local chemical reaction followed by systemic absorption and subsequent metabolism, a pro-hormone called 7-dehydrocholesterol in the skin is eventually converted into circulating vitamin D. Recent epidemiological data have identified hypovitaminosis D, low vitamin D, as a very common deficiency in first world nations, likely the result of indoor living. Although a detailed understanding of nutrients and vitamins is not a prominent part of most medical school curricula, vitamin D deficiency was recently shown to have a substantial role in many diseases, including various cancers, osteoporosis, hormonal problems, and certain autoimmune disorders, end quote. I had been told, this is me again, by various health pioneers that sunning one's thighs and abdomen was critical for this recharging. Those, I think I told you at first, I thought this had been a joke. It wasn't. So I wore summer clothes that allowed me modestly enough to accomplish this, at least when I had the rooftop to myself. As I rested in the sunshine, I would reflect on the sharp contrast between the tired, well-intending, masked male doctor at Weill Cornell and the smiling Dr. Ely, always brimming with vitality and compassion. I'd reflect on the contrasts between the two systems. The pale, masked doctor in the allopathic system had let me go with instructions only about what to do if I had a stroke in the future. That is, if in the future I got to a point of being already messed up, damaged, in serious physical trouble, I knew what to do, rush to the ER. In contrast, but really the biggest contrast imaginable in the human condition, Dr. Ely was assessing what had happened to me, was looking at my metabolic panel of tests, and was overhauling my entire system with nutrition, with supplements, even with an adjustment in my use of technology to keep me healthy in ways that perhaps needed shoring up so that I would not have a substantial risk of having a stroke in the future. I marveled that something as basic and important to someone who has just had a brain episode as switching settings on a computer to night shift, let alone listing the importance to her of electrolyte drinks and organic berries or of improving her circulatory health, was not even on the agenda when a neuro ICU patient was released from a respected allopathic hospital. These are not two different takes on healing with significant overlap. These are two different conceptual worlds in which healing has completely different meanings. So now, dear reader, to the outcome. I was uncomfortable and slow and heavily drugged for 1 week. The second week, I no longer needed painkillers. I did not even need aspirin. I was less uncomfortable, and I began to take walks with a cane, a cool cane, that had belonged to my late father. It has a faux ivory carved wolf's head as the handle. My dad was theatrical. First, I was able to go only halfway around the block. Then I could walk fully around the block. Then I was able to walk with the cane to the little cafe a few blocks away where we are members of an inexpensive coffee club. I'd have a double latte every morning, brought to me by lovely, bright young women with tattoos working as baristas, but who were also likely to be playwrights or photographers. I'd sit my cane against the chaise in the cafe's back garden, listening to birdsong and to distant traffic and to the murmurs of conversations between local hipsters. Then I was able to walk right into Prospect Park with a loved one, about a mile or two, and reach a bench and have a chat while looking at the swans and at the paddle boats on the lake. Every day I went further and I hurt less. I could walk. I was no longer limping. My physical asymmetry, the spinal curve, the uneven leg lengths that I had long accepted as being just part of how God made me was gone. I marveled at the miracle of walking. Being made physically even by my surgeon led me to be able to walk like anyone, which activity seemed incredible to me. For years, I'd been struggling in my gait without even fully realizing how hard I'd had to work to compensate for my, crookedness. Now I could just walk. It seemed a miracle of engineering, the bipedal human body walking, the weight shifting smoothly from one leg to the next, the effortless rotation of one hip and then the next hip, the feet shifting forward instinctively, and the whole being aligned, upright, progressing without falling. It was all truly amazing. The third week, we went to the wedding of friends of ours. There I had a complete recovery I literally cannot explain. June 2nd was my surgery. June 3rd to the 5th, my ICU stay. June 18th to the 21st was our friend's wedding. And today's August 2nd, so literally 8 weeks from my surgery and my brain episode. The wedding was in Martha's Vineyard, a storied location that already held a great deal of meaning for me, both positive and negative. I'd visited there as a young mother with my first husband and with our then toddler. As a single woman, I'd sailed there every summer for 6 years, alongside a man whom I will call A, who had not very long ago passed away fairly young. A had been a close friend of the couple who were to marry that weekend. During our relationship, A had caused me both happiness and great pain that had had no closure in his lifetime. And now I had the joy of returning with and showing the island to Brian, the love of my life. It was healing for me emotionally to return to the many haunts that held such memories for me, both bright and dark. As I shared smoked whitefish at Larson's with Brian while we sat on lobster traps, looking at the boats in Menemsha Harbor, or as we enjoyed the taffy scents and steaming hot dogs and gingerbread-fronted Victorian cottages, painted ice cream colors at Oak Bluffs, or even as we loaded our cart at a local supermarket with packets of chicken to contribute to our friend's barbecue, somehow I healed. The present circled back over the middle of my life, the recent past, and then the present circled back over the distant past. When Brian and I were at the setting where a friend's wedding was to take place, a home at which A had been omnipresent in his lifetime, I had walked down with a group of old friends to a rough column of heavy stones that a stonemason had assembled in the shape of a man in memory of A. The others each put a small round stone taken from the ground on one of the edges of the statue, a ledge at the height that a man's shoulder would be. This placing of a small pile of stones at a memorial site is a Jewish tradition in remembering the dead. The statue, made of larger, heavy hewn stones, was just about exactly the height that A had been. I too bent down and picked up a small, smooth stone. Though the other stones were colored in grays and grayish yellows, this stone was a deep oxblood color and veined with white. It was just the right one somehow. I put it too on the ledge, which was at the height of A's shoulder. As I did so, something passed right through me, an energy field unmistakably his, like a quiet swarm of bees, walked right through me. It seemed that we forgave one another. Later that night, there was a DJ and a dance floor, and I wanted to dance. I was so ready to dance, indeed bopping around like a child, that Brian had to remind me that my doctor would not be okay with my dancing yet. "Let her dance," someone yelled. We had to explain that I had recently had surgery, but I was dancing in my heart. The next day, I was ready to walk without a cane. Somehow, I walked all over the sloping green hills, all the way to Penobscot Beach. I walked painlessly, easily along the sand. I sat down painlessly and looked at the waves. I remembered the men when they were younger, when one of them was still alive, dropping anchor from their boat and diving into the gray-green waters, swimming to that shore and emerging laughing. Somehow I got up from the sand, that formerly impossible maneuver without help. I climbed over dunes without help, without a cane, as if I could walk forever. I walked the couple of miles back to the celebration. I watched my friends get married, and the heavens seemed to open over them, over us, as if true love were a palpable blessing dropped from a real celestial realm to fall right on our heads like warm rain, to fill our hands, to overflow. True love embraced us, surrounded us all. At breakfast the next morning, I was sitting with an old friend, a producer who is down to earth, secular, and matter of fact. To my knowledge, he does not have a mystical bent of any kind. We were chatting quietly, both of us gazing idly toward a ruined stone building on the property, alongside which a table had been set, where food had been laid out. A crowd of people was milling around the stone ruin, chatting, sipping coffee, hovering over the table of pastries, rolls, and jams, or simply enjoying the sunshine. Brian was somewhere in that area as well. The groom, looking joyful, appeared in the crowd and started to walk down the hill. Both of us, my table mate and I, continued looking in that direction. Suddenly, the groom was no longer visible. The dead man emerged from the crowd, but he was not dead. A was present, looking more alive than ever. He appeared to be younger than when I had known him, slimmer and healthier. Indeed, he was glowing with health. His fair hair was parted on the side, as if in a style from earlier than the period in which I had known him. He walked down the slope of the hill, smiling broadly, joyfully supervising the festive activity. He was gesturing, as if pointing out perhaps where a tray should be placed, the kind of thing he often did at such gatherings during his life on earth. He was wearing a clean white shirt of very soft material and clean khakis. He was not a translucent apparition, but a solid vision, it seemed, made of spirit. A was fully present. I wasn't scared. I was definitely startled. I thought, is this a hologram? Very slowly, my extremely practical table mate asked, "Are you seeing what I'm seeing?" "Do you mean," I said, "that A just showed up?" He said. "Right over there," I said, gesturing. "Yes," he said solemnly. We both confirmed calmly that we were both witnessing the exact same thing. Then, when it all dissolved a few long minutes later, we both independently confirmed that a return to the normal scene without A had taken place as well. I wasn't shaken. It seemed very natural, if quite surprising. Of course, somehow A would be there. Late that afternoon, Brian and I got back to our little hotel room in Menemsha. We were both exhausted and wanted to rest before the evening's activities would begin. As he climbed into bed, he said, "Does A have a brother? I saw someone who looked just like him standing by the stone ruin." Brian and I drove home, and it was June 22nd, just 20 days after my surgery. I can't explain what happened then in simply physical terms, unless all of this is normal and bodies are just miraculous. All of my pain was simply gone, and it did not return. I could walk forever, it seemed. I had to stop myself as I was directed not to overexert. I could climb up and down steps effortlessly, march in place, do the bridges and partial squats my physical therapist assigned me, all with perfect comfort. My muscles and nerves and even my bones that had been severed not 3 weeks before all somehow knitted so rapidly that they all recovered their functions and sensation. What had been an ugly, dark incision closed completely and healed over like magic, fading into the shade of the rest of my skin. I do not even understand the physics of how I could heal so rapidly. My brain seems to have completely recovered. I've had no more scary episodes. I'm working at full throttle. Now we're in Massachusetts. When I wrote this, we were taking a break from the city, and I'm walking, swimming, lounging again in the sun. And as soon as FedEx brings the oar that I bought from a sporting goods store for the folding kayak we have here, we'll go kayaking. Every day I drink my strange electrolyte concoction. I take my chlorophyll, my turmeric tonic, my vitamin C. In my tradition, we fear celebrating good fortune too loudly, as we fear attracting misfortune by doing so. But I have to risk going against that tradition to share with you that I feel overwhelmingly blessed with boundless energy and a sense of well-being, and to explore, in case it is helpful to you too, the reasons why that crazy complete recovery might have come about. What is it? What did it? Is it Dr. Ely's profound insight about human biological systems and his electrolyte drinks and his dark green and dark brown droppers of soothing liquids? Is it heliotherapy, that forgotten medical power of the sun? Is it the emotional healing of laying the restless ghosts of the past to rest and of bringing the love of my life for the first time into what had been a fraught and painful, but also a special place? Is it one more strange piece of evidence right in front of my face this time that we last forever, that we are more than our physical bodies, and that death does not really exist? Is it the skill of my surgeon and the body's normal recovery process? Is it all of this? I have been very ill to near death or very broken, and recovered in extraordinary ways very quickly 3 times in just 4 years. What does all that mean? Maybe my crazily complete and speedy healing over and over again 3 times, as in a fairy tale, is also due to one more thing, which I will share with you, dear friend, with love in my next essay. And that is my essay about Medical Purgatory Part 3. And, oh, there's Una Treen, Eric Arthur Blair's mistress. Love this woman. I wonder what her real name is. You don't have to tell me. She's fabulous. And by the way, this woman did something very quite historic. She knows a great deal about dance and the history of dance. And she identified that the Dancing Nurses videos share choreography with communist Chinese dances, which just clicked so much when she pointed it out, when she showed it with clips and images. It's a very important piece of dance history, and it explains so much. It's such a smoking gun about where the, who was behind the dancing nurses, and what that meant. So she says, and also I get what she is joking about there, because Eric Arthur Blair is 1984. Now I'm having a moment. The dystopia guy. Okay, you guys, I said my brain is recovered. Is this normal forgetfulness, or a moment of something more serious? You will, Orwell, thank you. And she says, thank you for mentioning this. George Orwell. Yes, and it's pronounced Wana. I'm sorry. Wana Treen is, oh, wow. Wana Treen is her real name. This is so fascinating. And there we go. So she says, my friend Christine is launching a site called Healing Hub to share stories like this. I hope you will share your experience there. Gladly, though I must say, Juana, that it still seems scary to share this experience, because it's called kainahara in Yiddish, without the evil eye. You don't want the evil eye. And there is this very deep tradition that we don't gloat, we don't celebrate good fortune, because bad fortune can be just around the corner, overhearing us celebrating our good fortune. It's a little, paranoid, but we've had a tough history. So I hope and trust, my instinct is I'm supposed to share this with you all. So I did. And and I'm going to tell you in my next essay what I make of it. But I'll also, I've been saying it in my readings of Deuteronomy, not to be prescriptive. And human being says, love Dr. Ely, he is the best. And I'm getting nice notes from Jeffrey Wilner. Thank you. And 40 plus skin exposure at least. Really, I didn't know that. So it's not just abdomen and thighs, it's 40 plus skin exposure. Rooftop sanatorium, yeah. Block the sun depopulation, for sure. I mean, we've been talking a lot about the contrail situation and geoengineering, and why would they be doing it if the sun is that important to human health? It's a very minimal investment for big pharma to just, or Bill Gates, or who has invested in geoengineering, we know that, to send out some planes and block the sun, and escalate pharma profits, and just make people feel bad. Let's see what Mona says. Aphasia can be so scary. I had it regularly with migraines most of my life. It's especially scary when you're someone who uses language as a medium. Holy cow, absolutely. And I must say, I did find out in researching aphasia that it is a symptom of many kinds of migraines, which I do from time to time get, but I've never had that before. Wow, so scary. The brain is such a miracle, but also so fragile. All right, so Roscoe Rossi, who's an old friend of ours, says 10 Hail Marys. After 3 Hail Marys, pick a set of mysteries. I'm not going to do that, Roscoe. I used to be very eclectic about my, faith practices. I would pray any old place to, and engage in just about any rituals except satanic ones or occult ones. And thank you for telling me what to do. And I should not diminish your kindness, but Brian doesn't know. I think it's okay for me to share that because he just shared it with me. And so I will pass that on, and I will look up for Brian how you say a rosary. I actually was told that it doesn't really count if you're not Catholic to say the rosary. But also, since in Deuteronomy, in the Hebrew Bible, in the Hebrew translation, God is so clear that he doesn't want people of my ancestry to go after other gods or, worship graven images. I'm just going to err on the side of caution with that one. And we'll have the the resident Catholic do the rosary, but I'm happy to have it in the house. But thank you, Roscoe, and hi to you. I'm happy to see you. And let's see what else you've got to say. See how corrupt those pharmacies can be. The fact that hospital tells a pharmacy there'll be consequences means pharmacies are in the habit of abusing their discretion, right? I'm sure it was not the first time she had heard people say, we can't get we can't get opiates, we can't get these drugs. But the other thing that is also possible, a lot of our pharmaceuticals are made in China, as you all know if you followed my work on the COVID vaccine, which the Pfizer vaccine is made in China. And if they really are at war against us, which I am convinced they are, what a genius move to withhold opiates and have people at the mercy of pain, right? I don't know if I could have lived through that first week without opiates. There we go. And Juana says, first commandment, we can't do that. I'm with you there, Naomi, as a fellow Jewess. It's so interesting. It does change one's sense of priorities to actually read what God clearly says over and over in the Hebrew Bible. It's quite mind-blowing because, as I said a million times to those of you who are following my readings of the Hebrew Bible and the Geneva Bible, we're really not given very accurate summaries or reflections. We're directed to the wrong things. And what God himself says in the Hebrew Bible is so clear. And he says the same basic things over and over and over and over and over. And so this brings us to our next subject, which I'll shift to after I finish this riff and thank our sponsor. And Juana Treen says, our covenant is a choice we make over and over again. So true. No one tells us that unless we're very lucky, or unless we're Orthodox Jews or certain kinds of 17th century Puritans. No one tells us that. No one tells us that. We're told it's some ritual or tithing or baptism or going to synagogue on Yom Kippur. No, that is a mitzvah, as it turns out. The basic covenant, the basic things God is asking, we don't do them once and then we're done, or once a week or once a year. We make that commitment every day, every day, every day. And you're anticipating, Juana, what my next essay is going to be about, because that is what I'm discovering, right? That's what I think is the prompt for my complete recovery. They feel linked. But I don't want to just jump right into that without lots of caveats, because lots of people listening to this are suffering from horrible illnesses, chronic conditions, degenerative illnesses, deadly illnesses. And I don't want to blame the victim. I don't want to say I know the purpose of suffering, because I don't. I just, let me go back to the source, right? As a scholar, you never go wrong. You go back to the text. The text we've been reading says clearly, and no religion tells you this except these handful, right? Because it would put so much power in the hands of humans, of the worshiper, by human being, gotta go. That, God is saying over and over, it will go well with you if you follow my commandments. It will go well with you. And we talked in the last reading of Deuteronomy 6 that this in Hebrew is a verb, which we don't even have in English, hetev. It will goodify you. It will beneficentize you. It will, make goodness. You will be making goodness happen. The verb is in the hands of the human being, right? God is telling us this is how the universe works. When you follow my commandments, you make good your life. And he even says you lengthen your days. Your kids will be healthy. Your your grain will grow in season, your vines will grow, you'll sit under your own arbor and no one will make you afraid. Like he says it again and again, and it is like the biggest secret, right? You don't go to church and synagogue usually, or I don't think to a mosque and hear, hey, it's all in your hands. You don't need the imam, you don't need the rabbi, you don't need the priest, you just need to follow these commandments, these 10 commandments, or 613 if you happen to be an Orthodox Jew in the rabbinic tradition. But in the Old Testament, it's a handful of commandments. It's some sacrifices, and don't commit adultery, and don't follow after other gods, and honor your father and mother. Like very reasonable, right? And don't mix milk and meat. And God is saying, if you do these simple things, it will go well with you. Hetev, right? And in one sentence in Deuteronomy 6, the word good was repeated 6 times. It will be good, you'll make it good, and you'll go into this good land, which I promised your forefathers, flowing with milk and honey. So I think I have read Magic of the Ordinary, but it was a long time ago. I would love to reread it. And Roscoe, I didn't mean to contradict you. You're saying, I just meant how one would say it if they were to, not you. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. It's 5 sets of 10 Hail Marys. Thank you. After the first 3 Hail Marys, and then the 5 beads between the sets are mysteries, of which there are 4. That's fascinating. And then you're explaining one set of mysteries would take one around a whole rosary. Wow. What are the mysteries? Are you allowed to tell me, or do they have to remain mysteries? That's fascinating. And I'll share that, of course, with Brian. And Juana points out, she's so good with symbolism. The bronze serpent is a fascinating story that I think applies beautifully here. Very true, Juana. Wow, you guys are cooking with gas today. So the bronze serpent, there had been, also in Deuteronomy, as I recall, the children of Israel had been whoring after strange gods, correct me if I'm wrong, and there was a plague, and the plague was devastating, and Moshe held up a bronze serpent, and the people who looked at it healed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was definitely a really perfect example of what I'm talking about, that God was like, okay, I don't want you to be sick, but when you do things that I've told you I don't want you to do, like going after the Asherah priestesses and worshiping Baal, you're going to get sick, right? There's going to be a plague. And I just really want to stress, because this sounds so punitive. In the Hebrew Bible, it's not punitive. It's like I keep using the metaphor of he's trying to explain how to drive to a 16-year-old. He's trying to say, this is how the physical universe works, or the moral universe works. These are the laws of the universe. And if you violate the laws of the universe that I've set up, right, these are the things that you're risking. And it's almost like, it's not like he's saying you'll never have sickness or death, or suffering if you obey my commandments. Obviously, people who obey the commandments get sick and die and suffer as well. But it's almost like he's saying you shift the flow of blessings in your direction. We don't know why some suffering is unavoidable. I don't know why. We haven't gotten there yet if it's in the Hebrew Bible, right? But God is clearly saying you surround yourself in your household with protection when you have the mezuzah on the door, when you follow these commandments, when you take seriously what, these very basic things that God is asking you to do. And I just want to stress, it's not just for Jews. It's not just for the children of Israel. If those of you who are listening aren't my usual listeners for the Hebrew Bible, over and over again, God says, and the stranger in your midst, and the sojourner in your midst. There's not a distinction. The Noahide laws are not as many, but they are commandments for everyone on earth, not just for the children of Israel. So, oh yeah, I'd love to see that. Thank you. Why Good People Suffer, a Chabad article. All right, so let's move on. It's 1:00. That's been super fun. I really enjoyed it. And I want to thank our sponsor before we move into Deuteronomy 7. For those of you who have the energy to go for a second hour, when credible doctors start paying attention to repurposed medications, it's worth asking why. Dr. Harvey Risch, former professor of epidemiology at Yale and now serving on the president's cancer panel, is helping lead that conversation. A new groundbreaking observational study from the wellness company analyzed the off-label use of ivermectin, very much in the news because Dr. Fauci knew it helped and kept it, penalized, and mebendazole in nearly 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across cancers such as breast, prostate, lung, and colon. And the results are hard to ignore. After 6 months, 84% of patients experienced clinical benefit, including stable disease, tumor regression, or no evidence of disease at all. This is not lab data. This is real-world patient experience. Dr. Risch, chief epidemiologist at the wellness company, called it an exciting signal deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower-cost cancer care options. That is why the wellness company makes it easy to access an ivermectin and mebendazole formula using medications that are FDA approved for other indications and are being studied for additional use. It is doctor prescribed and USA compounded, designed to support patients exploring these emerging approaches under medical guidance. Ordering is simple and fully digital. Just fill out a quick intake form, and a licensed doctor reviews it, and your prescription ships directly to your door. Head to dailyclouthealth.com. That's dailyclouthealth.com, and use code DailyClout to save up to $60 off and get free shipping. Really important, you guys. Dr. Risch is a friend of mine and Brian's. We adore him and his wonderful wife. And he doesn't put his name behind nonsense. So this is, early days, but when Dr. Risch says there's promising results, he means it. And I really urge you, if you've got a loved one suffering from cancer, the existing therapies are so bleak and painful and difficult. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor, not telling you what to do, but I do highly recommend the wellness company's products generally. And I can tell you Dr. Risch is such a principled epidemiologist, so knowledgeable. I would take what he says very seriously. Let's skip ahead. So many great questions and comments. There's Wana Trian. You guys should check it out. Why Does God Allow Suffering on the Chabad website? I'm going to be checking it out for sure because I don't know how to answer that. I definitely want to know. And there's Roscoe, Re'eh, Rav Berg's birth portion, Re'eh. It's Aryeh rearranged. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure you will explain that, Roscoe. And Linda Ann Wheeler said, I've got to see that. So everyone go to Chabad. I'll bring it up again. And Chabad.org and look up Why Does God Allow Suffering? And just in case you're wondering, Orthodox Jews spell God that way, and I really should as well, because the name of God is so holy. You shouldn't even say God, really. You should say Hashem, which means the name, that you don't banty it about lightly. So that's my best explanation of why they do that. All right, zipping along. If you guys are still with me, we're going to go to the Geneva Bible. And for those of you who are not my regular viewers for the Geneva Bible readings, this is the Puritans' Bible, the Shakespeare's Bible, the Founder's Bible, a completely different Bible than the King James Bible, which came later, which is official, right? It was commissioned by the Crown and beautiful, right? But not 100% accurate. Whereas this translation, made under duress by Protestant reformers who had fled England for Geneva when they could have been martyred for being Protestant reformers, they wanted to create from the Hebrew such a perfectly accurate translation into the English that every plowboy, as they put it, could hear and understand the word of God. And it really is the most accurate English translation, in addition to Chabad's, right, that I've read. Again, those of you who follow along know this, but those of you who are new may not know. What we're finding as we go through reading this 1560 English version and then looking at the Masoretic Hebrew text on Chabad's website, and then comparing that to the Revised Standard Version, which is a modern English translation, is that the modern translations are terrible and mistranslate again and again and again, such that some things are not even recognizable. And very briefly, the thing that the modern translations, certainly this one, RSV, does over and over, is that they will mistranslate God's personality, into being much scarier and weirder and more difficult to understand, more distant, more punitive than he is in the original, where he's quite relatable and human and emotionally understandable and close to us and loving. And the other thing that the Revised Standard Version does constantly is overstates the theological language, like overstates the role of the church and the priesthood and the ritual, when it just isn't there at all. All right. Chapter 7, Deuteronomy, and you can go to archive.org for the Geneva Bible 1560, or you can order a physical Geneva Bible. And this subheadline, as you recall, is the editorial commentary. It's not in the original. The Israelites may make no covenant with the Gentiles, as you were saying, Juana. They must destroy the idols. The election depends on the free love of God. The experience of the power of God ought to confirm us to avoid all occasion of idolatry. So that's what the reformers were saying is the essence of this chapter. And now this is the actual text. When the Lord your God shall bring you into the land where you go to possess it, and shall root out many nations before you, the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Amorites and the Canaanites and the Perizzites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you, and the Lord your God shall give them before you, then you shall smite them. You shall utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, nor have compassion on them. Neither shall you make marriages with them, neither give your daughter unto his son, nor take his daughter unto your son. For they will cause your son to turn away from me and to serve other gods. Then will the wrath of the Lord wax hot, grow hot against you, and destroy you suddenly. But thus you shall deal with them. You shall overthrow their altars and break down their pillars, and you shall cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. For you are a holy people unto the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a precious people unto himself above all people that are upon the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, the Lord has brought you out by a mighty hand and delivered you out of the house of bondage from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, that you may know that the Lord your God, he is God, the faithful God, which keeps covenant and mercy unto them that love him and keep his commandments, even to 1,000 generations, and rewards them to their face that hate him, to bring them to destruction. He will not defer to reward him that something him to his face, that it says, hateth him to his face. Keep you therefore the commandments and the ordinances and the laws which I command you this day to do them. For if you hearken, listen unto these laws and observe and do them, then the Lord your God shall keep with you the covenant and the mercy which he swore unto your fathers. And he will love you and bless you and multiply you. See, this is what I was talking about. If you follow the commandments, this is what you will get. He will love you and bless you and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your land, your corn and your wine and your oil, and the increase of your kine, your cattle, and the flocks of your sheep in the land, which he swore unto your fathers to give you. You will be blessed above all people. There shall be neither male nor female barren among you, nor among your cattle. Moreover, the Lord will take away from you all infirmities, and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which you know, upon you, but will send them upon all that hate you. You shall therefore consume all people which the Lord your God shall give you. Your ear shall not spare them. No, your eye shall not spare them, neither shall you serve their gods, for that shall be your destruction. If you say in your heart, these nations are more than I, how can I call them out? You shall not fear them, but remember what the Lord your God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt, the great temptations which your eyes saw, and the signs and wonders, and the mighty hand and stretched out arm, by which the Lord your God brought you out, so shall the Lord your God do unto all the people whose face you fear. Moreover, the Lord your God will send hornets among them, until they that are left and hide themselves from you be destroyed. And the note says, there is not so small a creature which will not arm to fight on your side against them. You will not fear them, for the Lord your God is among you, a God mighty and dreadful. And the Lord your God will root out these nations before you little by little. You may not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon you. But the Lord your God shall give them before you, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction, until they be brought to nothing, to naught. And then it says, it is your commodity that God accomplishes not his promise so soon as you would wish. It is to your commodity. It's for your benefit that this will take a while, even if you get frustrated. And he shall deliver their kings into your hand, and you shall destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall you burn with fire, and covet not the silver and gold that is on them, nor take it unto you, lest you be snared therewith, like ensnared by it. For it is an abomination before the Lord your God. And the note says, and be inclined to idolatry. Bring not therefore abomination into your house, lest you be accursed like it, but utterly abhor it, and count it most abominable, for it is accursed. And let's see if there are any other important notes. Down here it says, God would have his service pure without all idolatrous ceremony and superstition. Let's see what other notes. Freely, finding no cause in you more than in others to do. That's next to where it says the Lord didn't love you because you were bigger nation than everyone else. He loves you out of his own free will. And it says, and so put difference between him and idols, about why you shouldn't worship other gods. And this note says, this covenant is grounded upon his free grace. So soar in, it's very hard to read. It to his, can't read it. The print is messed up. We might not be merciful where God commands. We ought not to be merciful where God commands severity. And that's talking about God's commandment that these people destroy the people who are there. Yeah, that's what the notes say. And then I love those notes because they're so like matter of fact. All right, so that's what that says. God's not fooling around. We've heard versions of this multiple times. It should be familiar to you, some of this. Go in and destroy them. Don't spare them. Don't take them for your wife. Don't take them for your daughter-in-law. Don't take them for your son-in-law. Don't take the gold. Don't take the silver. Don't turn aside and worship other gods. I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of Egypt. If you follow my commandments, you'll have all these blessings. He says it again, right? And he says literally, as Juana was pointing out, he says literally, I won't make you sick. I won't send the diseases against you that I sent against the people of Egypt. The plagues, you remember the plagues, the death of the firstborn, boils, horrible plagues and illnesses. He's saying, I will keep you healthy. No one will be barren. You'll have babies. Your animals will have babies. I mean, it's such a state of material blessedness. Now let's see what it says in Hebrew. And I will share the screen. By now you can practically learn the Hebrew. Oh, it's really nice. I thought I would have a drop-off of viewers when I shifted into the Torah portion, but in fact, we've got lots more viewers. That's really, really nice. Dvarim means, again, words and things, as you know. So profound. All right. Ki yavi'acha Adonai Elohecha, when he will bring you, God your Lord, El haaretz asher ata ba shama, to the land which you are coming there. Lirsheta venashal goyim rabim, to possess it. He will cast away many nations, great nations. Goyim rabim, many nations. Now remember, goyim is supposed to be a pejorative, and that's what the internet says. Internet anti-Semitism says this. You can see for yourself this word right here, goyim right here, it just means nations. Many nations. Mepanecha, from before your face. Hachiti, vehagirgashi, vehaemori, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, the Amorites, vehaknani, and the Canaanites, Vehaprizi, and the Perizzites, Veachivi, the Hivites, Vehayevusi, and the Jebusites, Shiv'a goyim rabim, 7 mighty nations, numerous nations, Ve'atsumim mimecha, that are more numerous and more powerful than you. Is this Chabad.org? It is Chabad.org. Oh, it's got notes that it needs to have. That's really interesting. Ve'natnam Adonai Elohecha lefanecha, and the Lord, and he'll give them, God your Lord, in front of your face, meaning to you. Vehikitam, and you, plural, will smite them. Hacharem tacharim, you shall smite them utterly, utterly destroy them. Otam. And you hear that repetition of the root. Hacharem tacharim, you will smitedly smite them. Lo tichrot lahem brit velo techanem. You will not make a covenant with them, nor be gracious to them. Don't be merciful to them. Lo techanem, you should not show them any grace. Velo titchanen bam, you will not intermarry with them. Chatana is a wedding. Chatan is a groom. Don't, it's a reflexive verb. Don't marry yourselves in them, literally. Bitcha, don't give your daughter. Velo titen livno uvito lo tikach livnecha. Don't give your daughter to his son. Don't take his daughter for your son. Don't intermarry with them. Ki yasir et bincha me'acharai, because it will turn your son from after me, from following me. Ve'avdu Elohim acharim, and they'll worship, literally work for, it's the same as worship, other gods. Ve'chara af Adonai, and the wrath of the Lord will be kindled bechem, in you. Ve'hishmidcha maher, and he'll quickly destroy you. Ki im ko te'asu, because if you do this, lahem, ki im ko te'asu lahem, because you shall do this to them. Mizbechotehem titsu, demolish their altars, umatzbotam tishberu, and smash their monuments, ve'asherehem tegadeun upsilehem tisrefun be'esh. Cut down their asherim trees. Asherah is the same root as Ashtar, the priestess Asherah. It's a word, one of the names of Ashtaroth, the fertility goddess. The same root as the maypole, by the way, the pole of fertility. And burn their graven images with fire, literally their statues. You will burn with fire. Ki am kadosh ata, because you are a holy people, le Adonai, to God, Elohecha, your Lord, becha bachar Adonai, in you chose God, Elohecha, your Lord, liot lo le'am segula, to be to him a treasured people, mikol ha'amim asher al pnei ha'adama, from all the peoples who are on the face of the earth. Lo merub chem mikol ha'amim, not because you're more numerous than all of the people. Chashak Adonai, did the Lord delight in you? Cheshek is like joy, delight, appetite even. Chashak Adonai bachem ve'yivchar bachem ki atem hame'at mikol ha'amim. And choose you because you are actually the least of all the people. Me'at is very little. Ki me'ahavat Adonai etchem, but because of the Lord's love for you, umi shamru et hashvuah asher nishba le'avotechem, and because he keeps, that word shomer, guards, et hashvuah, the oath, asher nishba, which he swore, same root as shvuah, the oath which he oathed, to your forefathers, hutzi Adonai etchem biyad chazakah. For this reason, he took you out with a strong hand, v'yifdecha mebeit avadim, and redeemed you from the house of bondage, miyad Pharaoh melech Mitzrayim, from the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. And just pay attention to this word, yifdecha, redeemed. It is very much going to be in play in Christian interpretations of redemption. It literally means, to buy a slave from the slave master and release him to freedom, or her to freedom. And that is what Christians would later say Jesus did with his death, was redeemed the whole world from slavery, basically. It comes from this practice in a slave culture. V'yadata ki Adonai Elohecha hu Elohim, and you'll know, therefore, that the Lord your God is God, Ha'el Hane'eman, Shomer Habrit, the faithful God, guardian, Shomer, that word again, he protects, Habrit, the covenant, Ve'chesed le'ohavav, and loving kindness with those who love him. Ohev is love. Ohavav is those who love him. Ule smere mitzvot, and to those who keep the commandments. Same root. God is shomering, guarding the covenant, and he loves those who shomrei, guard, keep, same word, the mitzvot, the commandment, le'elef dor, to 1,000 generations. U meshalem lisinav, and he pays those who hate him, el panav leha'avido lo ye'acher lisino, and he repays those who hate him to their face to cause them to perish, el panav yeshalem lo. He will not delay the one who hates him, but will repay him to his face. Like, it'll happen quickly. Karma's a bitch is what that means. It happens fast. Veshamarta, that word again, that root again, lishmor, you know what it means by now. And guard you. Ata, the ta ending means you. It's masculine you. And guard you. Et hamitzvah ve'et hachukim, the commandments and the statutes, ve'et hamishpatim, and the sentences, the ordinances, asher anuchi metzavcha hayom la'asotam, which I command today to do them. Ve'haya ekev tishme'un, and it will be because you will listen, tishme'un, plural, shomea is to hear, et hamishpatim, these ordinances, they translated heed, because you heed these ordinances, ha'ele, these, ush martem, and you've guarded them, that word again, shomer, ve'asitem otam, and you did them, you know that word la'asot is to do, you did them, ve'shamar Adonai, that root again, shomer, God guarded, Elohecha, the Lord, your God guarded, lecha, will guard you, will protect you, et habrit ve'et hachesed, he'll keep for you, he'll guard for you the covenant and the kindness, the mercy, asher nishba la'avotecha, which he promised to your forefathers. Oh, this is so beautiful. Ve'ahevcha, and he will love you. Uberachecha, and he will bless you. Vehirbecha, and he will multiply you. Uberach pri bit necha, and he will bless the fruit of your womb, upri admatecha, and the fruit of your land, de gancha, the fruit of your soil, your grain, vetir shecha v'yitz harecha, sgar alafecha, your grain, your wine, and your oil, the offspring of your cattle, and the choice of your flocks, ve'ashterot tzonecha, and the choice of your flocks, al ha'adama, on the land, in the land, asher nishba la'avotecha, which he promised to your forefathers, latet lecha, to give to you. Baruch tiyeh, blessed you will be, mikol ha'amim, from all the peoples. Lo yeh becha akar, there will be no one sterile among you. Ve'akara u behematecha, and there will be no male or female barren one among you or your livestock, not human, not animal, barren. Ve'hesir Adonai mimecha kol cholei, and he will remove, God will remove from among you all the illnesses. Cholei is illness. Cholei u vechol midvei Mitzrayim, and all the evil diseases of Egypt, haraim, the wicked ones. Asher yadata, which you know, lo yasimam bach, he will not put them in you. Unet Tanam bechol sne'echa, but he will lay them upon all your enemies, all those who hate you. Ve'achalta et kol ha'amim, and you'll consume, literally you'll eat all the peoples. Asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach, which the Lord your God will give you. Lo tachus eincha alehem, you will not spare them. Velo ta'avod et Elohehem, and you will not worship their gods. Ki mokesh hu lach, for that will be a snare for you. Ki tomar bil levavcha rabim hagoyim ha'ele. If you say in your heart, these nations are many, much greater than I, mimeni, from me, echa uchal leho risham, how will I be able to drive them out? Lo tira mihem, don't be afraid of them. Remember that word tira, it's not mefached. I always say this, it's not this kind of fear, it's like being intimidated, being in awe. Don't be in awe of them. Zechor tizkor, you hear the repetition, that's the same root. Remember, remember. And they translate it, you'll surely remember. Zechor tizkor, remember the memory-ishness. Et asher asa Adonai, that which God did, Elohecha, your God, leFaro ulechol Mitzrayim, to Pharaoh and to all of Egypt. Hamasot, the Hagdolot, the great trials, asher ra'u enecha, which your eyes saw, ve'ha'otot, ve'ha'moftim, and the signs, the wonders, ve'hayad ha'chazakah, the mighty hand, ve'hazro'ah ha'netuya, the outstretched arm, asher hotziacha, which exited you, which took you out, Adonai, God took you out, Elohecha, your Lord, ken ya'aseh Adonai, thus will God do, Elohecha, your Lord, lechol ha'amim asher ata yireh mifnechem, to all the people you are afraid of. V'gam et ha'tzirah yishalach Adonai, and also the tzirah, the Lord your God will incite against them, Elohecha bam, the Lord your God in them, ad avod hanisharim vehanistarim mipanecha, until the survivors and those who hide from you, literally from in front of your face, perish. Lo te'arotz mifnehem, don't be terrified from in front of their faces. Ki Adonai Elohecha bekirbecha, because the Lord your God is near you. They translate it in your midst. You know this word karov, close to you, like next to you. El gadol v'nora, a great and powerful, a great and awesome God. Ve'nashal Adonai Elohecha et hagoyim, and the Lord your God will drive out those nations. Again, goyim just means nations. Don't get upset, everyone. Ha'el mifanecha, God will drive out those nations from in front of your faces. Me'at, me'at, little by little. That word me'at, you heard it earlier. You are me'at. You are a small country. This is me'at, me'at, little by little. Lo tuchal kalutam maher. You will not be able to destroy them quickly. Pen tirbe alecha chayat hasadeh, lest the beasts of the field outnumber you. It's literally a practical reason. You don't want to wipe them out too quickly, because then the wilderness will overtake their farmland, basically. V'natanam Adonai Elohecha lefanecha, and God will deliver them to you, literally will give them in front of your face. Ve'hamas mehuma gdola, and he will confound them with great confusion, ad hasham dam, until they are destroyed. V'natan malchehem beyadecha, and he'll deliver their kings into your hand. Ve'ha'avadata et shmam, and you will destroy their name, literally their names, mitachat hashamayim, from under the sky, from beneath the heavens. Lo yatsev ish befanecha, no man will be able to stand up before you, ad hash midecha otam, until you have destroyed them. Psilei Elohehem tisrefun, the statues, the graven images of their gods, you will burn ba'esh, with fire. Lo tachmod kesef, you will not covet the silver, v'zahav, and the gold, alehem, that is on them, v'lakachtalach, and don't take it to you for yourself. Pen tivakesh bo ki to avat Adonai Elohecha hu, lest you be ensnared by it, for it is an abomination to the Lord your God. Velo tavi to'eva, and don't bring an abomination, el betecha, toward your house, into your house. V'hayita cherem kamohu, lest you are to be destroyed like it. Shaketz tishaktsenu, you hear the repetition. You shall utterly detest it, and you shall utterly abhor it. Tit avenu ki cheremhu, you shall utterly abhor it, for it is to be destroyed. And by the way, cherem is the same root as the Arabic haram, which is, an abomination, treif, not to be touched. A pig is haram in Arabic, in Islam, and it is the same root, an abomination. It's to be destroyed. Ki cheremhu, you are to abhor it, for it is to be destroyed. All right, there you go. Pretty clear what God is asking, wouldn't you say? No ambiguity there. Don't worship their gods. Don't intermarry with them, and don't be afraid. Like God keeps reminding them, which is why this is such a human text, and God is so human in this text. The children of Israel are forgetful, and they don't have emotional intelligence. And God keeps saying almost formulaically at this point, you guys have seen this before. You're afraid to go possess the promised land, which I've promised your forefathers. Don't be afraid. Hey, you guys, remember you were slaves in Egypt. Just one generation back, right? Avadim hayinu, you were slaves. We were slaves in Egypt. And God, it's always the same formula, brought you out of there with an outstretched arm and a mighty hand, and an outstretched arm, out of the house of bondage, with many signs and wonders. Like, don't forget, this happened in Exodus, like 3 chapters ago, 2 chapters ago. Don't be ignorant of your own history. I'm able to do this. It's like he has to keep saying, I'm able to do this. I'm the Lord your God. Trust me for, like you can feel his frustration. That's why it's such a human document to read it in the Hebrew. He's exasperated. And he will not be slack to them that hate him. Very true. And Juana says, I can't help but wonder if the amount of Lashon Hara which means like evil tongue, like bad gossip, we continue to see as it relates to 2020 on, isn't a remarkable example of what we were warned of. Yes, it is a remarkable example of what we were warned of. Absolutely. We suffered. We turned away from God. We didn't obey the commandments. The whole lockdown / mandates was a test. Will we be committed to the truth, or will we just go along with lies, which is really worshiping false gods, I would say. And we did not, many of us were not faithful, and we suffered, and it was very punitive. And I just think there's, I'm not trying to say I don't want to say anyone who suffered deserves it, but like our whole culture was asked, are you going to go after a set of lies? And a lot of responsible people said, yes, I will go after a set of lies. And then a great deal of suffering followed. Make of that what you will. All right, let's zip through because I don't like it much and we're running low on time. The translation for the Revised Standard Version. Let's see, I haven't opened it. Let's see if you can see it. There we go. Deuteronomy 7. And we usually just skim through to see if there are any notable mistranslations. A chosen people. I guess that's fair enough, but I think it's problematic too, because as I've said many times when this issue of the covenant comes up, the children of Israel are a chosen people. God says so, but also it depends on their behavior. And, God is often qualifying it. If you follow my commandments, then you will remain my chosen people. And if you don't, I'll destroy you utterly. So I think it's tendentious or really risking anti-Semitism to just say, oh, chosen people, as these interesting Catholic translators do. It's a lot more complicated than that, the covenant. And I think it's more sympathetic. Quote, when the Lord your God brings you into the land which you are entering to take possession of it and clears away many nations before you. Is that what it says? Clears away? Let's take a look at line 7. That doesn't seem quite right. he will cast away, a little different. Many nations before you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than yourselves. Correct. And when the Lord your God gives them over to you and you defeat them, then you must utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them and show no mercy to them. That's correct. You shall not make marriages with them, giving your daughters to their sons or taking their daughters for your sons. Correct. For they would turn away your sons from following me to serve other gods. Then the anger of the Lord would be kindled against you, and he would destroy you quickly, but thus shall you deal with them. You shall break down their altars and dash in pieces their pillars and hew down their asherim and burn their graven images with fire. That's correct. For you are a people holy to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for his own possession out of all the peoples that are on the face of the earth. Is it possession? Let's take a look at line 6. In the Hebrew, for you are a holy people to the Lord your God. The Lord your God has chosen you to be his treasured people. That's different from a possession. Treasured people is stronger than his own possession. And again, another theme I see in the mistranslations in the Revised Standard Version is it's not that friendly to the children of Israel, honestly, in terms of modern geopolitics. It tends to play down where God says, you're my beloved people, this is your land. So this is another example of that. It was not because you were more in number than any other people that the Lord set his love upon you and chose you, for you are the fewest of all peoples. That's fair. But it is because the Lord loves you and is keeping the oath which he swore to your fathers, that the Lord has brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you from the house of bondage, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. That's correct. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God, the faithful God, who keeps covenant and steadfast love with those who love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and requites to their face those who hate him by destroying them. He will not be slack with him who hates him. He will requite him to his face. You shall therefore be careful to do the commandment and the statutes and the ordinances which I command you this day. That's correct. Blessings for obedience. I hate these subheadlines. They're not in the original. And it's not obedience, you guys. It's not obedience. Like, honestly, don't get mad at me, but obedience is kind of a medieval Catholic priority theologically. It's not a Jewish priority. It's not in the Hebrew Bible. God is not asking for obedience. God is asking for free will. And I keep using this word, alignment. God's asking us to choose these and to do them from a position of free will, right? That's not the same as obedience. Obedience sounds tyrannical and irrational. And like you have no choice, right? Because this guy's such a tyrant. No, in the Hebrew, God keeps saying, follow these commandments, keep them, guard them, do them. It's much more respectful language. He's recognized that we don't have to. We're in a state of free will. He wants us to, but it's like, I keep saying it's like a marriage. Do you want your husband to say, you have to obey me and then I'll be good to you? Or, hey, these are the things that matter to me. Please take care to do them, right? And you don't want to do them out of obedience to your husband or your wife. You want to do them because you love them. Totally different. So, quote, and because you hearken, that's where, again, they're using an archaic verb that doesn't exist anymore in modern English, hearken, listen. There is no archaism in the Hebrew. It's the same contemporary, time period of the language. And I've said before, the archaisms that the modern Bibles introduce only serve to distance the action and God. Because you listen to these ordinances and keep them and do them, the Lord your God will keep with you the covenant and the steadfast love which he swore to your fathers to keep. He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. That's correct. He will also bless the fruit of your body and the fruit of your ground. I think it's literally of your womb and the fruit of your ground, your grain and your wine and your oil, the increase of your cattle and the young of your flock in the land which he swore to your fathers to give you. You shall be blessed above all peoples. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. That's correct. And the Lord will take away from you all sickness, And none of the evil diseases of Egypt which you knew will he inflict upon you, but he will lay them upon all who hate you. That is correct. And you shall destroy all the peoples that the Lord your God will give over to you. Your eyes shall not pity them, neither shall you serve their gods, for that would be a snare to you. That's correct. If you say in your heart, these nations are greater than I, how can I dispossess them? You shall not be afraid of them, but you shall remember what the Lord your God did to Pharaoh and to all Egypt, the great trials which your eyes saw, the signs, the wonders, the mighty hand, and the outstretched arm by which the Lord your God brought you out. So will the Lord your God do to all the peoples of whom you are afraid. That's correct. Moreover, the Lord your God will send hornets among them until those who are left and hide themselves from you are destroyed. You shall not be in dread of them, for the Lord your God is in the midst of you, a great and terrible God. That's correct. I would just say Nora doesn't really mean terrible like, oh, how terrible. It means like awe-inspiring, massive, overwhelming. Okay. The Lord your much more the Shakespearean version of terrible, like terrible used to mean in English, overwhelming, massive, intimidating, right? The Lord your God will clear away these nations before you little by little. You may not make an end of them at once, lest the wild beasts grow too numerous for you. Literally the beasts of the field. But the Lord your God will give them over to you and throw them into great confusion until they are destroyed, and he will give their kings into your hand, correct? And you shall make their name perish from under heaven. Not a man shall be able to stand against you until you have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods you shall burn with fire, literally the statues. You shall not covet the silver or the gold that is on them, or take it for yourselves, lest you be ensnared by it. For it is an abomination to the Lord your God, and you shall not bring an abominable thing into your house and become accursed like it. You shall utterly detest and abhor it, for it is an accursed thing. There you go, guys. Mostly accurate, some inaccuracies that I touched on. But, you know, there you have it. You know what, you heard it. You know what God's asking. There's not, you know, there's not ambiguity here. God's pretty clear about what he wants, but also what he offers. You know, it's up to us. But he's saying very clearly, if you follow my commandments, you won't get sick. I won't send the diseases of Egypt against you. I'll send them against people who hate you. He's also strangely saying, I'll make you, you know, I'll bless you among all peoples. I don't know what that means. I know that promises like that are taken and used against Jews all over the world as if, you know, we came up with them, but we didn't. I mean, as I have pointed out over and over, this is a very obtuse, stubborn, emotionally not intelligent people who are constantly frustrating God, but God keeps loving them and choosing them. I don't know why. He doesn't really say why, except that he, you know, loved Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he seems to have chosen them for this role. We're not going to make anti-Semitism go away by pretending this is not in the Hebrew Bible. It is. I think what's so interesting is that this was written or compiled before the children of Israel, before a lot of this came true. Like, they are going to go on to have a nation. They're going to be kings in the land of Israel that are Jewish kings. There's going to be a Jewish kingdoms. There is going to be a first temple and a second temple. All of that is in the future, but I don't think it's happened yet. I'll have to check, you know, when scholars say the compilation of Deuteronomy dates from, but I believe historically all of that is in the future. So, but also, you know, in terms of the action of the story, there's still just a random group of like 144,000 people hanging out in what is now Jordan, you know, staring across the Jordan Valley at the Judean hills where Brian just was. He has beautiful pictures of it. And thinking, you know, this is really scary. We're going to get wiped out by all these people who are already living here. And there's no reason to believe that this is true, right? There's historically at this point no reason to believe that they are going to be a blessed people, that they're going to successfully inhabit the promised land. But they did, just like, I mean, this is one of the things that's trippy and weird to me about, the Bible as I learn more and more about it. A lot of these things came true, right? And how could the people compiling these books have known that at the time if there wasn't something supernatural about these texts? Same thing with bad predictions. I mean, in both the Old and the New Testaments, the destruction, the exile, not one stone standing upon another, the destruction of the temple, the losing our land, being scattered all over the world. All of that was predicted before it came true. Jesus predicted 70 years before it actually happened that not one stone would be left on another. Brian just was at the Western Wall. In my youth, it was called the Wailing Wall. And that's the Western Wall of the temple, and Solomon's temple. The second temple, actually, you can see the stones from the first temple still. But you also see where Roman soldiers threw giant stones, I don't even know how they did it, from the temple onto the kind of plain, many dozens of feet below where the temple used to stand. Now the Dome of the Rock, a Muslim mosque, has been built on the second temple, Dome Hahabite, the plateau where the first and second temple used to be. But Jesus said, not one stone will stand upon another. And that happened 70 years after he said it. Or I'm sorry, more like 40 years after he said it, because he was a grown man when he said it. So how do we explain these things? I mean, rationally, I don't understand how one can say that material human history intermingles with scriptural history and prophecy, but some kind of does, and if you just think about what's reasonable, this group of riffraff slaves, former slaves, in their own grandparents' memory, they can remember being slaves in Egypt, the most despised, the weakest of the weak, having nothing of their own, not even freedom. Now they're a bunch of nomads in the desert, with some sheep. They're Bedouins, basically. And God is saying to them through Moses, you're going to go into this good land flowing with milk and honey. You're going to take on these 7 nations that are more populous than you. I'm going to help you. And then you're going to, inhabit this land, which I promised your forefathers, and you're going to be a great nation. You're going to be blessed among all nations. There's literally no reason for them to believe it. It doesn't look plausible. It looks, honestly, it's like, who is this guy, Moshe, and why is he making this stuff up? They must have been, you can see why sometimes they lost total faith in Moshe, because Moshe is telling them something that, apart from the miracles that these people and their parents and grandparents actually witnessed, they would have no reason to believe it. So it's a really interesting emotional dynamic. They must have been torn between belief and disbelief. And God was trying to get them to believe with all the signs and wonders that he keeps reminding them about. At the same time, they're human, and they're like, those people are really strong and we're tiny, and, we're heading into we're about to commit suicide. Very interesting moment, very tense moment. But Moshe is a really great leader, and God is a great leader, obviously. And in spite of there being a handful of people about to do something kind of suicidal, they're being, marshaled to draw on their courage with a great deal of eloquence and reaffirmation that it's not a normal army. God is with them and has done amazing things before. So we'll leave it there. I want to remind you about the Wellness Company for our second hour. Dr. Harvey Risch, the former professor of epidemiology at Yale, who has released news about the observational study that I shared with you an hour ago from the Wellness Company that analyzed the off-label use of ivermectin and mebendazole in 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across cancers such as breast, prostate, lung, and colon. In 6 months, 84% of patients experienced clinical benefit, including stable disease, tumor regression, or no evidence of disease. This is real-world patient experience, not lab data. And Dr. Risch called it an exciting signal deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower-cost cancer care options. So that's why the Wellness Company makes it easy to access an ivermectin and mebendazole formula using medications that are FDA approved for other indications and are being studied for additional use. It's doctor prescribed, USA compounded, designed to support patients exploring these emerging approaches under medical guidance. Ordering is simple and fully digital. Fill out a quick intake form and a licensed doctor will review it, and your prescription ships directly to your door. So go over to dailyclouthealth.com. Go to dailyclouthealth.com and use code dailyclout. You'll save up to $60 off and get free shipping. And remember, when you do order from the Wellness Company or from Augusta Gold using the promo code cloutgold.com, you are supporting our work here at Daily Clout and over at Outspoken on Substack. If you don't subscribe already as a paid subscriber on Outspoken on Substack, please do. We have 123,000 subscribers, only about 2,500 paid subscribers. So, like 4%. And it's really what keeps the doors open. So if you can afford that $7 a month, and if you find this valuable, there are costs, you guys. I have a team, producers, I have hosting, I have editing, there are costs involved. And if you can afford that $70 a year, please do bite the bullet and subscribe as a paid subscriber. You really get the media that you support in this world. And we're breaking really important news stories, bringing beautiful essays to you, and doing the Geneva Bible readings, which I think are pretty riveting. And you don't get them anywhere else. Over on Daily Clout, if you make a one-time donation or subscribe there, that's $3.99 a month, very affordable. Subscribe to BillCam. You can find out what bills are coming your way. You can change legislation, affect legislation, and you also get incredible news and opinion about liberty in the United States and around the world. I want to thank our viewers around the world. It seems incredible because I'm just sitting here in our living room, but we're in the top 160 to 180 for news commentary, off and on in the United States and in Australia, New Zealand, sometimes Canada, countries around the world. And same thing with the Geneva Bible. The United Kingdom, we're in the top 100 to 200 for Judaism in various countries. It bounces around, but that's pretty amazing. And it means that people around the world are listening and finding meaning in this. So thank you. But again, let's keep it going. So if you can afford to subscribe, please do so. And otherwise, just keep listening. And thank you. Bless you. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll probably see you tomorrow. Take care. And this has been Naomi Wolf with Outspoken and Dr. Naomi Wolf reads the 1560